A spa weekend? That's what you call sleeping with an electrician? Let me guess, did you get your circuits rewired? My name is Shane Coleman, and I used to think I was married to a dedicated EMT who occasionally treated herself to girls' weekends with her nursing school friends. Turns out I was half right about the medical part, but completely wrong about the girls' weekend thing. After 12 years of marriage, you think you know someone. You know how they take their coffee in the morning, black with 2 sugars. You know they always check the locks twice before bed, a habit left over from their days working night shifts in downtown Houston. You know they hum when they're happy and get quiet when they're planning something. What you don't know is when the planning stops being about surprise birthday parties and starts being about secret hotel rooms. It started with the credit card statement on a Tuesday morning in March. I was sitting at our kitchen table, going through bills before my shift at the Chevron refinery, when I saw the charge that didn't make sense. Victoria's Secret, $147.33. Now, I'm not the kind of husband who monitors every purchase, but after operating heavy machinery for 15 years, you develop an eye for details that don't fit the pattern. Brooke was planning what she called a luxury spa retreat in Dallas. 3 days of massage therapy, meditation classes, and detox treatments with her old paramedic training buddies from Houston Methodist. Noble stuff. The kind of thing a supportive husband encourages because 12 years of marriage means knowing when your wife needs to decompress from saving lives in emergency rooms. But here's the thing about operating a crane that weighs 40 tons and costs more than most people's houses. You learn to pay attention to small problems before they become big disasters. A loose bolt here, an unusual vibration there, the kind of details that separate competent operators from guys who end up as statistics in safety reports. That credit card charge was a loose bolt. I was bringing Brooke her morning coffee when I saw it lying on our kitchen counter. A receipt for Victoria's Secret lingerie, size medium. My wife wears large, always has, ever since I've known her. The tags were still attached, and the receipt was folded carefully inside a manila envelope, along with other papers I couldn't quite see from where I stood. Beside that envelope lay a hotel confirmation printout for the Adolphus Hotel in Dallas. 2 nights, king suite, champagne package included, for a spa weekend with the girls. For a solid 30 seconds, my brain tried to process this information like a diesel engine attempting to run on premium unleaded. Expensive lingerie in the wrong size, luxury hotel suite, champagne package, girls' spa weekend. Either Brooke had developed some very specific self-care requirements that involved wearing clothes that didn't fit, or this wasn't actually about meditation and detox treatments. The Adolphus Hotel isn't exactly the kind of place you book for a casual weekend with girlfriends. I'd looked into it once for our anniversary, back when I thought we were the kind of couple who did romantic getaways. $400 a night rooms, marble bathrooms, downtown Dallas views. The kind of place where you go when you want to impress someone, when you want them to know you think they're worth the expense. "Honey," I called out, my voice achieving that careful neutrality I'd perfected during 12 years of operating heavy machinery around volatile situations. "What's with the fancy underwear receipt?" She emerged from our bedroom, hair in a messy bun, wearing the scrubs she'd laid out for her shift at the hospital. For just a moment, before she composed herself, she looked like she'd been caught stealing overtime hours from the ambulance company. "Oh, that," she said, moving toward the coffee maker with practiced efficiency. "The spa has this whole wellness boutique thing. You know how these luxury places get? They want you to feel pampered and confident throughout the experience." She delivered this explanation with the same professional confidence she used when explaining to patients why they needed their medications, administered in specific dosages at specific intervals. Calm, authoritative, with just enough technical detail to make questioning seem unnecessary. "Wellness boutique," I repeated slowly, testing the words in my mouth like I was trying to figure out if they tasted right. "At a spa retreat. It's about self-love and body positivity," she said, rummaging through her purse for keys, badge, the various small items that marked her as someone who spent her days rushing between emergencies. "The whole experience is designed to make you feel beautiful inside and out, confident in your own skin." I nodded, watching her move around our kitchen, with the efficient movements of someone who'd been doing the same morning routine for years. But something was different. She wasn't meeting my eyes directly, and her hands were moving just a little too quickly, organizing things that didn't need organizing. "And the king suite at the Adolphus?" She paused, makeup compact in hand. Through the hallway mirror, I watched her eyes do that calculating thing they did when she was deciding how much truth to mix with her explanations. It was the same look she got when patients asked her questions about their treatment that she wasn't authorized to answer. "They upgraded us," she said finally. "Apparently, when you book the premium wellness package, they automatically give you better accommodations. Good customer service, you know? Makes the whole experience feel more luxurious. King Suite seems pretty big for 4 girls. 2 rooms," she said quickly, snapping the compact shut. "It's like a connecting suite situation. Everyone gets their own space, but we can still hang out together when we want to." I stirred my coffee and studied my wife's reflection in that hallway mirror. After 12 years of marriage, I knew her tells. The way she touched her earring when she was nervous. The way she spoke just a little too fast when she was explaining something she hoped I wouldn't question too closely. The way she organized things that were already organized when her mind was somewhere else entirely. All the tells were there. "Sounds expensive," I said finally. "Well, it's been a tough year. Between the overtime shifts and the stress from work, I figured I deserved something nice. Something to help me reconnect with who I am outside of emergency rooms and trauma calls." She kissed my cheek and headed for the door, calling back over her shoulder. "I'll text you updates about traffic on I-45. You know how construction gets between here and Dallas." Standard procedure. The same routine we'd followed for hundreds of mornings over the past 12 years. Except for the part where nothing about this felt standard anymore. That night, while Brooke slept the peaceful sleep of someone whose story made perfect sense to them, I lay awake doing math. $1,200 for a weekend spa trip. Premium wellness packages, champagne service, king suite upgrades. Even if this was some kind of avant-garde self-care program, the numbers didn't add up, unless Brooke was planning to get very comfortable with someone who wasn't me. See, when you operate heavy equipment for a living, math isn't just academic. When I'm moving a 40-ton crane boom over a pipeline that carries enough pressure to level a city block, the difference between correct calculations and wishful thinking is the difference between going home to dinner and becoming a cautionary tale they tell in safety meetings. You learn to trust numbers over explanations, facts over feelings. The facts weren't adding up. I'd been married to Brooke long enough to know her spending habits. She was practical, almost to a fault. The woman who clipped coupons for grocery shopping and insisted on generic brands for everything except her shampoo wasn't suddenly dropping $1,200 on luxury spa treatments. Not without discussing it first, not without showing me brochures and explaining why she deserved this particular indulgence. The next morning, she left for her shift at Houston Methodist with a kiss on my cheek and a promise to text updates about traffic on I-45. Standard procedure. The kind of routine that gets built over 12 years of coordinating work schedules and shared responsibilities. Except for the part where I decided to do some investigating of my own. After 15 years operating cranes and bulldozers for Chevron's pipeline division, you learn that when something doesn't look right, you better check twice before you move forward. Mechanical failure happens fast and without warning, but it almost always leaves traces if you know where to look. The trick is recognizing the difference between normal wear and deliberate sabotage. Brooke's phone records were surprisingly easy to access. We shared a family plan through Verizon, and I handled all the bills. Amazing how transparent your life becomes when you're not actually trying to hide anything. Amazing how much privacy you can maintain when someone trusts you completely. Too bad Brooke hadn't gotten that memo. I spread 3 months of phone records across our kitchen table like pipeline blueprints, looking for patterns that didn't fit the established flow. Her regular numbers were easy to identify. Houston Methodist Dispatch, her mother in Beaumont, her sister in Austin, the handful of EMT colleagues she'd stayed close with since training, normal patterns, expected connections, the kind of communication network you'd expect from someone whose life was exactly what it appeared to be. But buried in the data was an anomaly. The most frequently called number over the past 3 months wasn't her dispatch center, her mother, or any of her EMT colleagues. It was a local Houston number I didn't recognize, called at irregular intervals throughout each day. Sometimes brief calls under a minute, sometimes longer conversations, 20 or 30 minutes. Always during her shifts, always during times when she should have been focused on other things. Professional curiosity turned into something colder as I traced the pattern backward through the billing statements. 3 months ago, no calls to this number. 2.5 months ago, first contact. A brief call, probably exploratory. Then increasing frequency, longer duration, calls made from locations that weren't Houston Methodist. I picked up my phone and dialed the number. A man answered on the second ring. Yeah. His voice was rough, tired, with the kind of gravelly quality that comes from years of working in the dusty environments. Construction, maybe, or industrial maintenance. Definitely blue collar, definitely someone who worked with his hands. Is this Clay? Depends who's asking. I could hear power tools in the background, the distinctive whir of electrical equipment being tested, the scrape of metal conduit being bent into precise angles. Definitely an electrician. Probably commercial work, given the ambient noise level. This is Shane Coleman. I'm calling about my wife, Brooke. The power tools stopped. Complete silence for maybe 10 seconds, long enough for him to process what I just said and figure out how much trouble he was in. Long enough for me to understand that my marriage had been over for 3 months. I just hadn't known it yet. Oh shit. Oh shit is right, Clay. Congratulations, by the way. What? His voice had changed, gotten smaller. This was a man who just realized he'd been played, who was starting to understand that whatever Brooke had told him about, her marital status had been carefully edited for his consumption. You're going to Dallas this weekend. Tell my wife she's homeless now. I hung up before he could respond, and immediately started what I decided to call Operation Full Disclosure. The beauty of being married to someone for 12 years is that you learn their security habits. Brooke had thoughtfully left her laptop open on our kitchen counter, password saved on all her accounts. Email, social media, photo storage, cloud backup, everything accessible with a simple click. It was like she wanted to be caught. Or maybe she'd just gotten sloppy after 3 months of secret planning, confident in her ability to manage both lives without detection. The email trail told a story I wasn't prepared for. Clay Reeves, commercial electrician, divorced father of 2, renting a townhouse on the northwest side of Houston near the Willowbrook area. 34 years old, works industrial contracts for the shopping centers and office buildings, makes decent money but pays alimony and child support. The kind of guy who knows how to fix things, who takes pride in solving problems that other people can't figure out. They'd been seeing each other for 3 months, almost to the day since that first phone call appeared on our Verizon bill. He thought she was separated, going through a difficult divorce with a husband who was making things complicated. She thought he was ready for something serious, tired of casual relationships and looking for someone stable. They were both wrong about a lot of things. But the most interesting emails were from the past 2 weeks, marked with subject lines like Dallas plans and our weekend. Brooke explaining how this trip would be their chance to really connect, to see if they had something worth building on. Clay's responses were enthusiastic but careful, the words of a man who'd been burned before by complicated women with complicated situations. He had no idea how complicated things were about to become. Well, congratulations to both of them. They were about to discover just how complicated things could get. I spent the morning packing Brooke's belongings with the methodical precision of someone who'd spent 15 years assembling pipeline sections that had to fit together perfectly the first time. Everything had to be accounted for, cataloged, removed systematically. No shortcuts, no second chances, no room for emotional decision-making that could compromise the operation. Everything that belonged to Brooke Coleman went into boxes and garbage bags, clothes organized by season and type, toiletries arranged in Ziploc bags to prevent spills, books sorted by subject matter, her grandmother's ceramic cow collection, carefully wrapped in newspaper and nested in a reinforced box, the nursing textbooks she'd kept from her paramedic certification, still marked with highlighter and margin notes from 12 years ago, her half of our wedding, china, the good stuff we only used for holidays and anniversaries. Each item told a story about the woman I'd married, the life we'd built together, the shared history that was apparently worth less than 3 months of excitement, with an electrician she'd met God knows where, the coffee mug she'd used every morning for 5 years, chipped on one side from where she'd dropped it rushing to an emergency call, the ratty Houston Texans sweatshirt she wore on Sunday mornings, faded from too many washings, the romance novels she kept hidden behind her medical journals, guilty pleasures she thought I didn't know about. By noon, our house looked like Brooke had never existed. The closet space she'd occupied, the the bathroom counter real estate she'd claimed, the corner of the garage where she'd kept her medical bag and work boots. All of it cleared out, sanitized, ready for whatever came next. The systematic removal of 12 years of shared domestic life, accomplished with the same attention to detail I brought to multi-million-dollar construction projects. Loading my F-250 took 3 trips, the truck bed filled and covered with tarps, the cab packed with the more delicate items that needed climate control, each load secured with ratchet straps and corner protectors, because even in the middle of dismantling a marriage, some habits are too ingrained to abandon. You protect what you're transporting, even when you're transporting it away from yourself. Clay's address was in a neighborhood I'd driven through but never really noticed, the kind of place where working people lived when they were between better options, when they were building something but hadn't gotten there yet. Modest townhouses built in the 80s, decent lawns maintained by guys who understood that presentation mattered even when money was tight. Work trucks parked in driveways, boats and RVs stored behind houses. The physical evidence of men who worked hard and played harder when they got the chance. The American dream scaled down to fit blue-collar budgets and real-world expectations. Clay's place had a well-maintained yard and an electrical contractor's van that looked like it could survive a Category 5 hurricane. No fancy landscaping, but the grass was cut and the edges were trimmed. A basketball hoop in the driveway, probably for his kids when they visited. The kind of setup that said this was a man who took care of his responsibilities, even if he didn't always make the best decisions about married women. I was stacking boxes by his front door when it opened. "Can I help you?" The woman was maybe 35, brunette, wearing scrubs with cartoon characters scattered across bright blue fabric. She had the efficient look of someone who juggled multiple responsibilities and still made time for her kids' soccer games, school events, the 1,000 small obligations that came with being a single parent in suburban Houston. "Are you Mrs. Reeves?" "Ex-Mrs. Reeves, Morgan, and you must be Shane Coleman." Her voice carried the kind of resignation that comes from experience with disappointing men and complicated situations. Not angry exactly, but tired in the way that suggested she'd been down this particular road before. "I believe you know my wife, Brooke." Her face went through several expressions: surprise, recognition, understanding, and finally something that looked like grim satisfaction. "Oh, you're the husband." "Was. Past tense as of about 4 hours ago." She looked at the boxes stacked beside her front door, then at me, then back at the boxes. Her expression shifted from resignation to something approaching respect, the way people look when they realize they're dealing with someone who doesn't waste time on half measures. "Is that all her stuff?" "Everything that matters. Clay home?" "He's on a job site in Kingwood, but he called about an hour ago, said something about needing to talk to me about Brooke, about her maybe staying here this weekend." She paused, studying my face. "He mentioned something about Dallas." I nodded. "Brooke's been planning a surprise. Thought you should probably know before she shows up with her luggage and her romantic agenda." Morgan laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. It was the laugh of someone who just had their suspicions confirmed, who'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop, and was almost relieved when it finally hit the ground. "Romantic agenda? That's what we're calling it? Luxury hotel suite, champagne package, expensive lingerie in the wrong size. This morning, before she left for work. Thought you might want to warn Clay that his girlfriend is trying to make some unilateral decisions about their future." "Son of a bitch!" Morgan sat down on her front steps like her legs had given out. "He told me she was separated, said you two were already getting divorced, just waiting for the paperwork to go through. News to me. Yesterday morning, I was a happily married man bringing his wife coffee while she planned a wellness retreat. Amazing how quickly things change when you start paying attention to the details. We sat there for a moment, two people whose lives had been rearranged by other people's lies, trying to figure out what came next in a situation that neither of us had asked for. "So what now?" Morgan asked, her voice carrying the weight of someone who'd been through messy divorces and complicated custody arrangements. "What happens when they get back from Dallas and realize their whole house of cards just collapsed? Now Brooke gets to explain to Clay why she's homeless and looking for a place to crash. And Clay gets to explain to you why his separated girlfriend just became his very available, very deceptive ex-girlfriend. And you get to decide whether you want your kids around someone who lies to married men about being single." Morgan picked up one of the boxes and examined. The address label I'd written in black Sharpie. Brooke Coleman. Sounds so normal when you write it down like that. She can keep the name if she wants. I'm done with it. What if she comes back? What if she realizes she made a mistake and wants to work things out? I stood up and brushed construction dust off my work jeans, the same Carhartt pants I'd worn to dismantle pipeline sections that were built to last decades. Morgan, your ex-husband is about to find out that his girlfriend has been lying about her marital status, her living situation, and her weekend plans. My wife is about to find out that her boyfriend's ex-wife knows all about their affair, their Dallas getaway, and her new homeless status. And in about 6 hours, when Brooke texts from Dallas to check in on her devoted husband, she's going to discover that devoted husbands don't stick around for women who plan romantic weekends with electricians. That's not really an answer. Sure it is. It's just not the answer she's going to want to hear. I gave Morgan my phone number and told her to call if Brooke showed up looking for me or expecting sympathy. Then I drove home to my house that no longer had any evidence Brooke had ever existed, opened a Lone Star beer, and settled in to wait for the inevitable phone calls that would mark the official end of 12 years of marriage. The house felt different without her belongings scattered through it. Quieter, but also somehow more honest. No longer a stage set designed to support a performance. Just a place where someone lived and worked and tried to figure out what came next. I walked through rooms that had been shared space for over a decade, noting how much bigger everything seemed when it wasn't accommodating two people's accumulated possessions. The first call came at 6:47 p.m., right on schedule. Hey babe, made it to Dallas safe and sound. Traffic was absolutely terrible on I-45, but I'm here now and getting settled in. How was your shift? Brooke's voice was bright and cheerful, animated in a way I hadn't heard in months. The voice of someone who thought she was successfully managing a double life, who had no idea her husband had spent the day relocating her entire existence to another man's front porch. Educational, I said, settling deeper into my recliner with my beer. Very enlightening day all around. How's the spa? Check-in process go smoothly? Oh, you know how these luxury places are. Lots of paperwork, lots of orientation sessions about their wellness philosophy. But the hotel is absolutely gorgeous, Shane. Incredible view of downtown Dallas from the room. I bet. Staying busy with activities? Extremely busy. They have us scheduled for back-to-back treatments and seminars. I'm learning so much about holistic wellness approaches and mindful living practices. Holistic approaches. Sounds intensive. It really is. Very hands-on, very immersive. They believe in total mind-body integration. She giggled at her own double meaning. But enough about my boring spa stuff. What did you do today? Anything exciting? I took a long pull from my beer and considered how to answer. Cleaned house, did some organizing, made some phone calls, delivered some packages. Very productive day all around. That's wonderful, honey. I love it when you have productive days off. You deserve some downtime after all those long shifts at the refinery. Speaking of long shifts, how are your girlfriends holding up? Everyone adjusting well to the luxury treatment? Brief pause. Oh, you know how it is with groups. Everyone has different energy levels, different interests. Some people are more focused on the relaxation aspects, others are really into the educational components. We're all just trying to get what we need from the experience. That's very thoughtful of you, making sure everyone's needs are met. Exactly. It's all about communication and making sure nobody feels left out or uncomfortable with the arrangements. The irony was so thick I could have used it to insulate pipeline joints. Well, you've always been good at managing complicated situations. Thank you, baby. That means a lot coming from you. I should go, though. We have a group meditation session starting soon, and I don't want to keep everyone waiting. Right. The mindful living thing. Exactly. Love you. Love you too, Brooke. I meant it too. That was the worst part. Even knowing what I knew, even after spending the day boxing up her life and delivering it to another man's doorstep, I still loved the woman I'd married 12 years ago. I just didn't know who this woman was anymore. The second call came at 10:23 p.m. Shane, Brooke's voice was different now, tight, scared, stripped of all the cheerful confidence from the earlier call. Yeah, I just got off the phone with Clay. Did you? How's Clay doing these days? He says you called him today. He says you told him about us, about me being married. Well, it seemed like the kind of information a guy should have about his girlfriend. Basic relationship transparency, you know? How did he take the news? Long silence. I could hear traffic in the background, car doors slamming, the ambient noise of a hotel parking lot, where someone was having the kind of conversation they couldn't have indoors. He says you delivered my stuff to his house. I did indeed. Figured you'd want your belongings to be where you were planning to spend your time. Seemed like common courtesy. How did you know? About the affair, or about the fact that you've been planning romantic getaways with an electrician while telling me you were going to spa weekends with the girls? Shane, I can explain. This isn't what it looks like. I'm sure you can explain. You're very creative. Wellness boutiques, upgrade suites, holistic approaches, mindful living practices, very imaginative storytelling. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Another silence, longer this time. I could picture her standing in that hotel parking lot, probably wearing the expensive lingerie she'd bought for Clay, trying to figure out how her perfect romantic weekend had turned into a perfect disaster. What do you mean? I mean, Clay's ex-wife Morgan is a very reasonable woman. We had a long conversation today while I was delivering your belongings to Clay's townhouse. Turns out she had no idea Clay was seeing a married woman. Also turns out she's not as understanding about Clay's extracurricular activities as you might have hoped. You talked to his ex-wife? Nice lady, works at Texas Children's Hospital, drives a Honda Pilot, has 2 kids who spend alternate weekends with their father. She was very interested to learn that Clay's separated girlfriend was actually someone's wife. You can't do that. Those are my belongings. That's my house. Was your house. Was your stuff. Past tense, present reality. You're a single woman with a suitcase full of lingerie calling your ex-husband from a hotel room where you're pretending to be at a spa retreat. Ex-husband? Did I stutter? Tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce. Adultery, abandonment, fraud, deception. The complete collection. My lawyer thinks it's going to be refreshingly straightforward, especially with the paper trail you've been thoughtful enough to provide. Shane, please, let me explain. Let me come home. We can work this out. We can go to counseling, figure out what went wrong, fix whatever problems we have. Home is Clay's townhouse now. I suggest you call him and see if Morgan's in a sharing mood. This is insane. You're being completely insane about this. I'm being thorough. There's a difference. I could hear her breathing, fast and shallow, like someone having a panic attack. Could picture her pacing around that hotel parking lot, trying to figure out how to salvage something from the wreckage of her double life. What if I come back? What if I end things with Clay and we try to rebuild? Then you'll be a homeless woman who cheated on her husband and lied about spa weekends. Seems like a personal problem to me. That's not what I wanted. Sure it is. You wanted excitement. You wanted passion. You wanted to feel desired by someone who didn't know all your flaws and quirks and boring Tuesday night habits. You wanted to be someone different, someone more interesting than Shane Coleman's wife. Congratulations. Now you get to find out who that someone is. Shane, please. Brooke, in 12 years of marriage, you never lied to me. Not once. Not about money, not about your family, not about your feelings, not about anything that mattered. And then in 3 months, you lied about everything. Where you were going, who you were, seeing what you wanted. You even lied about spa treatments. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. You knew you wanted to plan romantic getaways with another man. That seems pretty specific to me. The third call came at 1:15 a.m. Shane, I'm at Clay's house. How's that going? Morgan won't let me in. She says Clay's not here, but his van is in the driveway. I can see lights on inside. Maybe he's not ready for visitors. Maybe he's having his own conversation with Morgan about the situation. All my stuff is still on the porch. It's starting to rain. Better move it inside somewhere. I don't have anywhere to move it. I don't have anywhere to go. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered the credit card charges, the hotel confirmation, the 3 months of elaborate deception, the systematic dismantling of 12 years of trust, for 3 months of excitement with a man who thought she was someone else entirely. You could try the Adolphus. I hear they have excellent king suites. Don't be a bastard, Shane. Don't be a cheating wife, Brooke. I made a mistake. You made 100 mistakes. The Dallas thing wasn't a mistake. That was a plan. A terrible plan that involved lying to 2 different men about who you were and what you wanted, but definitely intentional. I just wanted to feel wanted again. And now you know how it feels to be unwanted. Educational, isn't it? She started crying then. Real tears, not the manipulative kind she used when she wanted me to fix something or buy something or forgive something. These were the tears of someone whose life had just collapsed in ways they hadn't anticipated. Someone who was finally understanding the full scope of what they'd lost. Please, Shane, let me come home. Let me explain everything. There's nothing to explain. You wanted a different life, and now you have one. Congratulations. This isn't what I wanted. Then you should have thought about that before you started booking hotel rooms with electricians. I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning, I drove past Clay's townhouse on my way to the refinery. Brooke's Honda was parked in the street, and she was sitting on the front step surrounded by boxes and garbage bags, looking like a refugee from her own life. I didn't stop. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone who's trying to destroy your life is to let them go find their own. Brooke had wanted to be someone different, someone more exciting, someone worth lying for. Now she got to spend however long it took finding out who that someone was, and I got to spend the rest of my life being grateful I didn't have to watch.